Greetings, Team DPS. I am Dr. Alex Marrero, your proud superintendent here at Denver Public Schools. Thank you for joining us today at the special Marrero Moment. Today, our guest is Dr. Tony Smith, Deputy Superintendent. Dr. Smith, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Marrero.
Pleasure, pleasure. Let's start with that question. What's a Deputy Superintendent?
That's a great question. At many points in times, sometimes I wonder what it is myself, but the Deputy Superintendent is in charge of creating and maintaining strategies and tactics aligned to the vision, the strategic roadmap, and with your direction and with your leadership, implementing the vision for education that we have for our kids, all the way from the academic vision to the teaching vision to the learning vision, and all that falls in between. So it's a pretty robust task.
Surely. Very practical, a whole lot of heavy lifting. You can do that anywhere. Why did you choose the Denver community?
Yeah, I love Denver. I am a young man that was born in Chicago, Illinois, and moved a total of 9 times in my educational career.
Wow.
And through that, what I learned is how to make friends and how to meet people. And when I got to Denver, I really enjoyed the people that I met and the people that I became friends with. And you know, I spent time in college here, spent a couple years away, and now I'm back because I love the work of Denver Public Schools. I love the people of Denver Public Schools. I love Denver as a community.
Oh, thank you for that. In your role, essential for DPS's vision where every learner thrives. So can you tell us a bit more of what it means to you based on your experiences here at DPS prior to this role, but also in your current role as a deputy? Yeah. Every learner thriving.
Every learner thrives. I think what it means is that, you know, no students fall through the cracks, that we give every student what they need to be successful. And I think about fair and equal. What's not fair is, what's equal is not fair, and what's fair is not equal. And we give each person a fair opportunity, what they need to be successful within their educational endeavors. And I think it really is important to me because parents send us their best students. Kids come to our schools as their best selves, and we are charged with embracing that and molding the leaders, the thinkers, the teachers, the scholars, the educators, the society of tomorrow. And you know, education is such a beautiful thing because every day you have an opportunity to impact tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So I believe folks have an idea. Let's get a little bit into the weeds.
Okay.
So your team, for those in DPS community who aren't aware, your work leads academics, school supervision, support. Tell us more about what that work and the biggest areas of focus immediately in the near future around academics and how you support schools.
Yeah. As we talked about this year, our 2 priorities are safe and welcoming environment and grade level tasks and text. And when we think about safe and welcoming environment, how do we create an adult experience and a student experience and a system experience that makes people want to be here and wants to teach, that make people want to teach in Denver Public Schools, that are proud to be a part of Denver Public Schools, that students see themselves reflected in our schools, that they really want to be a part of our schools, and that they show up every day to give their absolute best. On the backside, when you think about grade level tasks and text, what do we have to do in order to make sure kids are hitting those benchmarks and bars? And how do we supervise and coach and support our teachers, our leaders, our collaborative directors, and everybody aligned to the system to meet those 2 goals? How do we align perfectly and create clarity in a coherent way for our school communities? And then how do we celebrate and capture those successes? How do we make sure that people know about the great things we got going on in Denver Public Schools? And I think lastly, what we do is now, how do we work together with all of our stakeholders to understand what is going well, what's not going well, and how do we work together as a community to get better at getting better?
Awesome. Coherence and collaboration amongst a lot of things. Thank you for that. We know in Denver and here in DPS, we have an incredibly diverse community, culturally, racially, linguistically, and so many more dimensions, you would agree. As an Afro-Latino superintendent, I could not be prouder to represent our Black and Brown majority school district. How are we making sure that we're providing our students of color the experience and supports they need to thrive?
Yeah, I think one tangible way is our are Black excellence plans, right? I think that's one tangible thing we can point to say 100% of our schools have strong Black excellence plans. I think above and beyond that is the way we embrace equity as a district and really hold that as a milestone for us, one of our core values. And again, equity isn't contained, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And how do we equip people to be leaders for equity, leaders for diversity and inclusion, to embrace who they are at the core and to embrace who others are at the core. And I think about Maya Angelou and what she said, you never really know a person until you know their story. And so how do we learn our stories and begin to bridge gaps and to come together based on our stories and our commonalities rather than our differences? And Denver is a beautiful place to do that. And I think as a Black man here in Denver Public Schools, it has really given me an opportunity to see the beauty in our difference and the beauty in our strive for equity as we work together to solve difficult issues and problems that are in our society, but in our schools. How do we make the change? We are the change that we want to see in the world, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning the Black excellence plans. I know when I was courting this incredible district, I haven't found a district that has a Black excellence resolution, much less schools that are required to engage in Black excellence via a scripted plan. Can you give us a little bit of the highlights of some great things that you've seen across our school ecosystems that are Black and African American students and even educators, right, to the adult experience that they're doing, whether it's via their plans or that you've seen through your journeys?
Yeah, I think it is all encompassing. We have tremendous leaders in our district. You talk about being a proud superintendent, you have a lot to be proud of. We have some really strong leaders from the work happening at Stedman Elementary and Michael Atkins and the work that he's doing to not only spread that joy that he has, but the work that he's doing with mentoring other leaders. I think about the work of YMOP, Young Men of Purpose, that really brings African American and Latino young men into a space where they can start to build character and development, build character, develop who they are as an individual, and understand themselves as minority men. I think about Project Greer Street at Thomas Jefferson High School that really is focused on supporting young African American males in attaining their goal of attendance at a highly selective university, Ivy Leagues, the MITs of the world, and pursuing those high-level careers through high-level education. Those are just a few at the secondary level. I think about the work of Centennial and their work with the Black Lives Matter movement to really truly understand and embrace some of their curriculum to help kids understand themselves and others. I think about just the work at Martin Luther King Jr. Early College. I think about the work that they started and that is continuing on, the work that's being expanded to East around the podcast that allows student voice and leadership to thrive. We have a lot of great things going on in our schools, but we have tremendous kids and tremendous teachers that are telling their individual stories and doing so much for our community.
I love that you end with community, because I had some questions and I still have some more for you, but I have one from the community. Right, so let me just pull this right in front of me. No, it's a nice one. Don't worry about it. DPS has heard a whole lot from us, the community, and community feedback, which emphasizes that we need to continue to teach our shared history and the voices and stories of our marginalized Denverites. The question from the community is, how are we highlighting Black, Latinx, Native American heritage in our classroom and in the community?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we're going to always have to do better with as we think about the history of this country and we think about the origins of this country. We are working to highlight that historical perspective through some of the audits that we're doing in curriculum through the No Justice, No Peace resolution. I think one concrete way is providing Black History 365 in our libraries to every student, but then also thinking about our humanities and social studies classes, using that as a supplemental curriculum to support students understanding history from a different perspective. I think it's about understanding the true origins of where we stand today and the lands that we have inhabited, and building strong partnerships with our community organizations to help not just teach kids, but to learn. How do we provide additional learning opportunities? And I think about my own personal journey. How do we excite kids about who they are to learn more about their heritage? And I think there's so many different ways that that's happening in schools because we have so many strong leaders equipped to do that work and to guide students, but then also teachers really investing in sharing who they are and helping kids understand and research who they then can become.
Yeah, love that you mentioned our educators, the importance of the adult experience as much as the student experience. A little bit about the system experience. As we know, we're in Black History Month, and we pride ourselves on being able to reflect on the phenomenal work of our Black and African American predecessors who have built the way towards a brighter future. They paid it for you, for me, and all of us who are watching. But there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done, you would agree. What examples in Black history motivate you in your journeys towards racial and educational equity?
Man, that's
You already quoted Maya Angelou. Give me another.
That's a big task. I think there's several that I, in my educational career, come across, and there's some new ones. But I really like the classics, Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery, The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. You know, I think those are two that really have helped ground me. I think about the poetry of Langston Hughes and how he moved my soul. I think about the words of Frederick Douglass in his autobiography, right? There can be no progress without struggle. And I think what we often misunderstand in this conversation of race, equity, and blackness as a whole is that we're going through it because we're going to get to it, right? We're going to make this progress because we are a strong, diverse group of people who are committed to equity. And just to name a few, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't name some of the classics that I know in my era of hip hop. Some of my authors are Tupac Shakur or Biggie Smalls that talked about different parts of the Black experience. I mean, you can go to Nas and the Illmatic and how that Black experience is created and crafted to really embrace who you are. And I think, you know, Black culture, Black history, Black influence is so grand and it is so diverse that we truly are not a monolith, and I'm so excited when we embrace all aspects of our culture and truly let it be known who we are. You see throughout society that, you know, Black history is American history, but Black history shapes the world and Black culture shapes the world. And that's such an exciting thing for me to be a part of, to look at my lineage, to pass that lineage on to my kids, but then also to educate people, teachers, leaders, students about that and to help them embrace that about themselves. It's really exciting.
Awesome, awesome. So we're in the same generation. I appreciate paying homage to those, whether they were written or showing their artistry via music. But for the ones who are listening here, I'll be remiss, I think you would agree, that's your J. Cole, that's your Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
So please understand that those were influential. You would agree, right?
I would tell you in a staff meeting, I actually played a J. Cole song.
There you go.
And I tried to create some reference and let people know that, you know, we got to stay current with the current authors of what culture is today.
I love a little Dr. Smith quote. We're going through it because we have to. Can you say that again?
We're going through it because we have to get to it.
Again.
We're going through it because we have to get to it.
Awesome, awesome. I have one last question. Why do you walk around with so much muscle? Please explain. Can you do me a favor? Can you do this? And all the way.
All the way.
You can do 180?
I can do 180.
Explain to me. It seems a little excessive. I'm sure they want to know why.
You know, I appreciate that. I was an athlete the majority of my life, and I wake up every day at 4 in the morning to continue my athletic journey. And you know, the joy of the job comes with the stresses, and I relieve those stresses on weights. And it's just a natural byproduct of that daily grind to get better.
All right. Well, you're Deputy Superintendent, all right? You're not on the gridiron anymore.
Got it.
Thank you so much for joining us and sitting down for this Marrero Moment. I'm sure you answered a whole lot of questions, getting to know you, but also where we're headed in collaboration.
Thank you.
Proud to call you Deputy Superintendent here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this special edition of the Marrero Moment, and signing off alongside Deputy Superintendent Dr. Tony Smith.